Why hello there, I'm chillin', and today I bring you the script reading of this thing. 1 second, I seem to have lost my pages. Okay. She stole my bike, that little shit. Stole my bike. I just put down the cash on that thing, a brand new VF 1000R, and this little shit goes out and steals it. Perhaps I'll stick to Beauregard on her. What is this little punk anyway? This is the wrong... Oh, right, I'm supposed to be doing the ride guide for beginners. Let's get right to there. A friend of mine recently asked me, out of the kindness of his heart, Chillin', could you please make a ride video game guide that helps me with motorcycle games in general, because I suck at them and I fucking hate it. And I said, okay, so here it is, the Ride Beginner's Guide. Okay, so basically, this may not apply to all motorcycle games, so please take this guide with a grain of salt, and no, these are not rules to follow in real life. I mean, some of them are, but it's two different things. Do not compare them, because it's just completely different. I'm literally straight up talking in the sense of riding a motorcycle in a video game and like racing games like it. So to get started, the main difference in real life is you can roll on the throttle, and since I'm using a keyboard in Ride, that's kind of hard to do. But these rules will still apply, and if you can roll on the throttle, if you have like a controller or a joystick or whatever, or you have some way to roll on the throttle, that's awesome. If you don't, this will also be really beneficial, because that's how I play motorcycle video games, is with my keyboard, because they don't really have a controller that's built like the sim racers do, where you can use like a stick or you can use a wheel. They don't have any of that. I mean, they made some fringes out where in Antarctica or some shit, but I've never seen it, nor is it in mass production or anything like that. So now to get back on topic. So you suck at motorcycle video games, but you're interested in learning. Let me attempt to help. Rules may not always work for everyone. Okay, so basically, when you start motorcycle racing games, I started with Road Rash, and then I've played basically every single other game I could get my hands on. The list is huge and extensive, and I can go on forever, because motorcycle games are kind of dime a dozen. There's not very many of them, and there's only a few that stand out that are actually really good, that get motorcycle riding right. And that is the first part of the guide. This is called The Feel. The feel is like that moment in college when you realized maybe all of this was worth it. It's a little whisper, and then it gets bigger. Okay, but seriously. It takes time to build up the feel, but once you have it, it applies to every motorcycle racing game, because you'll follow these rules and you'll get the hang of it, and then if the feel's right, if the game actually is decent, then you'll be able to understand that magical place of where you're weaving in and out between the corners, and it just feels right. Now to get started. Start with go get a really slow bike. Don't mess with any of the settings. Just go get a slow bike, and don't worry about the assists. Just let them happen, and ride it around the track. And you'll probably look like this at the start. But you just keep doing that. You just ride it around. You go real slow on the slow bike, because the fast bikes will just slingshot yourself into a wall, and it's pretty self-explanatory. Notice how I'm having to really turn it in. And then kind of twitch on the keyboard because it's slow. The faster bikes you have to do that with less. But anyway, back to it. So obviously when you first start, you just have to accept the fact that you will suck really bad, and that's just kind of the way it is. It's a racing game, it's not very intuitive. It takes some time to get used to, and unless you have motorcycle experience, it'll be a lot harder to understand the concepts of racing video games. You really got to apply yourself. You can't just twitch the controller and shoot a gun magically and get a kill. Part 2, the motorcycles. There are tons of bikes in this game, and you're going to find ones that you love and ones that you hate. You just have to keep riding different ones until you find the one that fits you like a glove. You will find it. It is out there. It is destiny. Once you kind of find that bike that you really enjoy, you just have to kind of try them all. Then you can configure the riding style. So as far as riding styles go, they actually have a huge effect in Tourist Trophy as well as this game, which is basically what it's taken out of. But I prefer the style where the guy's more up, more old school, he's way more up on the tank, and I can measure the knee in the corners because I can see the knee. Some people like to do the whole elbow down thing. It's pretty easy to do, but you just kind of mess with it and go out and try it, and there's kind of 3 different ways to do it. It's kind of where you put your guy, where you put his back and chest and hands, because the higher up on the tank he is, the more kind of old school the riding style, but the more further down he is, the more closer to the corner, the closer his elbow is to the ground. That's kind of the newer styles, and this is completely up to you. It does make a little bit of a difference when you're handling the motorcycle, but that comes later when you get better at the game. You'll notice that different riding styles have different strengths and weaknesses, or maybe this is just a bunch of bull, but to me that's what I've noticed. Part 3. What you've all been waiting for. Okay, this is actually how to behave in the course, like in the game. So, once you get started, there's some kind of rules I follow. I don't know if they'll help you or not, but basically, first thing first, you accelerate. You get on the gas and you approach a corner. Now, the thing you're usually doing in motorcycle video games is you're calculating your turn in and your turn out and trying to hit the apex of the corner. The apex of a corner is where it's like the middle of the corner, and it's like the exit ramp. It's like it's the middle of the corner, and once you hit that apex, the corner goes back out. It stops, turning in on you. It goes back out to the straight. So, your goal is to hit that apex right in the center of it, and then accelerate out, because if you're at the center of the corner when you get into it, you can accelerate out with more acceleration than you could if you hit it in deeper. Because what happens especially in motorcycle video games, is once you hit that apex and then you get it on the gas, you have less turn in. You can't turn in as much because you're on the gas. And if you do it right, you can run like with full throttle all the way up to that wall on the other side, usually. It depends on the track. But that's like when you have room left in the corner to accelerate off into, that's when you can go faster. And then you're going to have to do this for basis by basis with every corner. Now, to achieve that, you just need to basically use your brake. Your brake is your buddy. You will use it way more than the car games, because in the bike games you have to calculate turn-in with your brake. So usually what you do is, that moves on to my next point, is a brake marker. A brake marker is basically that marker where you smash on the brakes in the racing game. You just you get to that certain point where you should stop accelerating, and you get on the brakes. And you use this marker every lap to stay consistent. So you choose something in the environment, or unlike the racetracks, they'll actually have them numbered, but you got to find something that you can use as a visual reference. So once you've hit your brake marker, wherever it is, you get on the brakes, and then you turn in. You turn the bike in till you feel that full lean, and then you try to basically keep that line consistent until you're on your way out of that corner. So with braking, I usually do most of the braking in the game standing the bike up before I get into the corner, and then I let off the brakes as I go into full lean, and then kind of, adjust it need be with the gas and the brake. The important thing is, when you first start doing this technique, you just want to brake way sooner than you normally would, and just kind of take it easy through the corners until you start becoming consistent. Because then, once you become consistent, you become a lot faster. You can do different tricks. After braking point, the other technique you want to follow is wide corner entry. Take the corners wide, as far as you can from the other side, because that gives you more lean-in opportunity to go into the corner faster. Some are weird, some won't be like that, but for the most part, you want to either stick to a line or take them super wide. Because if you take a corner like on the inside, you're going to have to brake a little more to get out. So that's a pretty simple concept. But when you're actually at speed, these will all make way more sense. Now, the most common problem with motorcycle video games, since it's not real life, is going wide. What happens when you go wide in the corner? Which happens all the time. Happens for the most part. It's the biggest problem you'll have with staying on the course. My advice is this: brake more. The more you brake, the slower your bike gets, the more you can turn it in, and the more track room you'll have to, accelerate out. So if this corner is really tough and you can't seem to do it, brake even more. Go slower, because then you'll be able to turn your bike, stand your bike back up, and punch it out of that corner really quick. The line may be a little different than someone who's taking the more, consistent wide sweep through it, but it'll get the job done. The idea is you want to combine all of these in harmony. So that means accelerating up to the corner, just fully braking into the corner, leaning the bike in, still braking, letting off the brake, hitting that apex, and then accelerating back out of the corner. And you can accelerate while leaning. It's just now that you're accelerating, you gotta watch for the bike to not slide out the rear wheel, which does happen sometimes on the other bikes, but you'll get the hang of it. That's something that kind of comes eventually. But those are the basic ideas you want to follow in racing video games, or I should say motorcycle video games. So when you combine all these together, you get this you get that feel, you get that flow. If you have a controller, instead of just punching the throttle like you could do on the keyboard, you can actually, roll on or roll off depending on how that back wheel is sliding as you come out of the corner after you've hit the apex. If you miss the apex, no problem. It happens all the time. You just basically do the same thing as you would normally. Just stomp on the throttle and try to get as far out into that wall as you can. And that's all there is to it. So you're trying to basically, no matter what, you're always trying to calculate your turn-in. That's the goal here, is calculating your turn-in. So you got to look ahead and see how far that corner sweeps out and in, and then kind of calculate your speed through it. And then once you kind of figure out the maximum speed you can go through that corner, you'll be able to do that every lap. These games are all about the line you take through the course. Some lines will work, some lines won't. Once you figure out the line that works really well for you, and your rider style and your bike, then you will be fast and everything will make way more sense, and suddenly you'll be able to approach every corner with the same sort of speed and fun that you'll have no matter what. And that's all there is to it. Another fun thing is to actually practice with a buddy online, because if the two of you are racing, I've noticed it's actually really helpful to watch someone else play the game as well, like someone who's better than you, and you learn from them or whatever. And it's also just fun to have a buddy playing the game in general. But anyway, I hope that helps. If you get frustrated, try a different bike, or try tweaking the riding style, and then finally use the brake more. Use more of that brake, and use that brake when you go into the corner standing up, and then keep using it as you lean in. And if you use it too much, you will fall. So you let off the brake as you get into the corner, lean that bike in, fully in, then keep that bike leaned in to the apex, and then punch it. That's pretty much all there is to it. I hope this helps the 0.01% of you who actually need this guide, and I hope you enjoyed watching, and till next time, I'm chillin'.
Fucking right now, pussy. 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 Pussy.